The Kickstarter for the Monster Girl in My Closet audiobook will start in November. Hello YouTube, it's Ian here with Hobbies of a Man once again, and today we are doing another Kaiju number 8 chapter review. Now before we get into that, I do want to apologize that I've been kind of dead on the channel this week. I've been usually posting over 5 videos a week, and then this week I only posted 1. School got in the way. It's some tests snuck up on me, and a project that the professor just decided to assign out of nowhere, and I had to take care of business. I was not able to dedicate time to the channel. I still really shouldn't, but I didn't want to lose the traction that I have of having daily or weekly videos on Saturday for Kaiju number 8, so that's why I'm here. Before we actually jump into that, I do want to remind you guys that Jamie Hawk is going to have a Kickstarter soon for his Monster Girls in My Closet book, which I reviewed up there. And he also currently has a audiobook Kickstarter for the second book in his Dark Nights, which is called Her Dark Hunt. And I read it, and I beta read it, and it was basically done when I got it for beta reading. And it's really good. It's really enjoyable. It's really interesting. It kind of goes deeper into the mythology of King Arthur with a good enough twist there and some harem-lit elements there that really make it a fun story. Sadly, he said that it's only going to be 2 books, which kind of sucks, but he has other focuses, so that kind of makes sense. But yeah, it's really exciting. Please do check it out. I'll leave it down in the description. Also, remember that I have a 10% discount code on Tentai Books' website if you want a digital version of either Diner of the Exiled, Side Character 1 or Side Character 2 when it releases, which I think would be soon. Or in the future, in December, I think World Teacher will also release. So if you want a 10% discount on any of those, on the digital versions, make sure to use code LION to get that discount. But yeah, let's just jump into it. Now, I'm going to do a recap. Then I'm going to do a spoiler-filled section where we're just going to talk about the chapter. And I'll give you my opinions interlaced with the discussion. And then we'll talk about some theories. I don't really have any. I have one for today, but we'll just get into that when we get there. So we're going to start now. If you haven't caught up to Kaiju number 8, please go read it on the Viz Media app or on Manga Plus. I think that's the British version. Or if you want to do something else and just watch it, you can go watch all of my playlist up there where I discuss every chapter. And then I have a couple ramble videos where during the weeks that we don't have chapters, where I just kind of do something else and we talk about something that I found on Reddit and that I was interested in. So the recap here. Basically, last chapter, it was the first real battle. Our team goes into there and they just got to do what they got to do. And they do it really well. They take down the Kaiju easily. Everyone is really strong. Everyone's doing really well. All the other older officers are really impressed because the team is just so efficient. They're pushing so hard. They're developing so quickly, which is kind of rare, apparently. And they're immensely impressed. Kafka is inspired by all of his teammates doing so good, and he realizes that, hey, maybe I don't have enough combat potential unleashed on my suit, but I have knowledge that no one else has because of his time in the cleanup crew. So what he does is he dissects one of the Kaijus really quickly, finds all of its weak spots, and then tells the team. The team then, or Hoshina, the vice captain, then relays all of the intel over to all the other groups, and they start taking stuff down much easier. The battle really goes their way. They have no issues. And then it really turns into their favor when Mina shows up and uses her giant cannon, which is really awesome, to start shooting down the Honju, which is the really big Kaiju. And that's basically what happened last time, which is really good. I really enjoyed that chapter. Sadly, these chapters are feeling so short. I think it just has to do with the fact that when we first got the story, we got 5 chapters in one day. And now everything is kind of really small feeling compared to that. Because the first time we got access to the story, it was like 100 and something pages. And then this time, or it's been subsequently, it's only been like 20 pages at most. But that is that. So spoilers starting now. Chapter 14 has 19 pages. It opens up right after chapter 13 where Mina was shooting the Honju. Now, she shot it once. She shot it again. She starts kind of doing like a shooting each of its limbs, although she doesn't really, it doesn't look like she's shooting its limbs. She shoots it once, twice, 3 times, and that third time she unleashes 196% of combat power, which is crazy. She's basically her own kaiju at that point. Because the suits are made of kaiju fibers and muscles and stuff, and so she unleashing so much potential basically means she's a kaiju herself at that point. Or at least she has enough power compared to a kaiju, if that kind of makes sense. And she while right before she unleashes 96%, she kind of gets a bit of a flashback. She remembers that scene where her and Kafka are talking, and Kafka's like, you know, we'll see which one of us is the cooler officer. And then she says, you know, hey Kafka, this is me now. And then she just shoots the kaiju in this really awesome double spread page where you kind of see the bullet wheezing through the air, hits a kaiju, and there's like a big old explosion. It's really cool looking. This mangaka, I swear to God, she's so good at doing these super wide, large scenes where like you kind of feel in the movie it would be like pin drop, no noise, and then the explosion, and then a burst of noise at the end, right? Kind of like, okay, the new Star Wars movies are shitty, but The Last Jedi, when they do the Hondo maneuver, where they like hyperspace the ship into the Star Destroyer, that thing where it's like silent, and then it shoots through it, and then everything explodes. It's kind of like that kind of scene. The mangaka is really good at making scenes like that in her manga, and I really appreciate it. I think it's really amazing. So that happens. It's a huge shot. There's a crazy reaction. You know, Kafka is like, his mouth is gaping, his eyes popping out of his face, and Kikoru has her eyes really wide. Reno is also kind of like scared. He's like, oh god. That's really hype. And it was really good. After that, it's basically overkill. Like, honestly, she like shoots it like 5 times, and she was done with it at the 3rd shot. Like, everyone was telling her, hey man, you don't have to do that, it's already dead. She's like, no, I gotta do it. Make sure to give the order, just do it. And since she's a captain and she's a really strong one, she kind of gets to do what she wants. And Kafka admires her. He's like, damn, she's really, really cool, really powerful. And then Hoshina shows up, and he and Kafka have a little bit of a chat. Hoshina's like, hey man, are you ready to give up? Because that's what she's capable of doing, and you only have 1% available to you. How are you going to get there? And they kind of have a chat. Apparently, captains and vice captains are basically supposed to be equal. And being equal doesn't actually mean that they're both powerful in the same way. And this is demonstrated to us really easily by the fact that Hoshina is really good with swords. And he says, you know, I could never measure up to Mina's skill in taking down giant, colossal opponents. But mid-sized to small opponents, I would probably be better than her. And he shows off and he cuts the kaiju really fast without Kafka being able to see it. And then he has these really cool black steel knives. Or, well, they're swords, but they're kind of short, so I would call them like large knives. They basically kind of look like oversized combat knives, which are really cool looking. And then we get a bit of lore here. Apparently, Hoshina, besides being a swordsman and being really good at mid-sized to small-sized opponents, is descendant from kaiju slaying people. Like a clan of kaiju slayers from some old-ass period in Japan. That's super cool. Now, this actually kind of opens the possibilities here. Would we be able to have a medieval style kaiju slaying manga if our mangaka decided to do kind of like a prequel series? Kind of like a one-shot story maybe, or a couple chapters of it? That would be really cool. I think it'd be really interesting, but it would kind of just end up being like Bleach or Black Torch or something like that. But instead, it would be like giant kaiju instead of, what are the ones called in hollows and stuff. So it'd be kind of interesting, but maybe it would be a little bit too overdone. I do like the military weaponry sci-fi style that we have currently, because I feel like we rarely see that in shonen. Most of the time it's all swords and martial arts and stuff. So yeah, that was a really cool little bit of lore here, and a little bit of an interesting kind of side thing that could happen if the mangaka chooses it to. But yeah, so apparently the Honju is gone, but the battle is not over. It's not even halfway over, because the Joju, all the Joju that were inside the Honju are now swarming out of it, ready to attack. And they're basically like small versions of the same monster, but the thing is that there's a lot of them, and that's actually a little bit more dangerous than if there was just one giant one, because it's hard to corral them in and kind of deal with it easily, because it's so hard to aim at them, kind of. And the ones that they draw here basically look like the Flood from Halo, and it's kind of really creepy, but I really enjoyed it. And so yeah, the younger officers, all the people that we follow, complain a bit, and so the older team steps up and kind of teases them a little bit, like, you know, unleashed combat potential isn't the only thing. You also need stamina. You also need to be able to deal with the difficulties of doing this for a long time. And the young team are like, you know what? Screw that. We're going to take care of this anyways. We're going to do our thing, regardless of whether we're tired or not. We got to keep going. And they step up. Basically, Hoshina and the cute girl with the glasses are like, yeah, they're probably really tired, but this is going to be really good for them. It's going to help them rise up. They're going to go above and beyond what they're already doing. Because apparently non-captains in the JDF usually cap out at 20 to 30% combat potential. It takes a really skilled person to climb the way up that kind of stop. And apparently the only one in the crew that's done it so far is Kikoru, but there's one more person that can do it, and that's Reno. Obviously, Reno has something that, from what we can tell, the others don't, and that's that he has a very, very kind of important reason for why he's doing this. Mostly, besides him wanting to do it for the fame and glory and the coolness of being a JDF member, he wants to protect Kafka, and that's basically how shonen goes. Like, we don't really have to have the story tell us, because obviously the difference between Reno and all the other team members is that Reno has someone to fight for. Specifically, his dream isn't just to have fame and glory, it's to protect his friend who saved him. And so, you know, basic shonen stuff. And yeah, so it's really exciting. And then the last thing that happens is that they find the hammerhead kaiju chilling around the corpses of some of the kaiju, kind of inspecting them and being like, hey, this thing is missing. This thing got torn to shreds. What the heck? Someone knows that I messed with them. Who is it? And then Reno finds him, and he turns around, looks at him really creepily, and is like, do you know something about this? And it was just a cliffhanger, and I'm really excited for the next chapter. I think we might actually not have a chapter next week. I think it's already been 3 weeks. But really good stuff. So now the theory section. And really, I don't really know too much. And I'm not really sure that my theory will really hold up. But I think that Reno is going to have the traditional shonen style growth, while Kafka doesn't. I think I talked to someone in the comments, and I can't remember who, and he was telling me, hey man, this story is probably not going to follow the traditional shonen stuff. It's going to deal more with Kafka kind of accomplishing his dream as an adult in a kind of like more cerebral mental way, as a kind of like healing of your problems, of your emotional issues, kind of, instead of the traditional battle your way through life kind of way that shonen normally does. And I at the time, I wasn't really agreeing. I mean, I saw what they went for and what they were kind of talking about. But the thing is that, like, it's shonen. It can't really be like that completely, right? Because there's a certain expectation to shonen, and there's a certain way to keep the attention of young readers, and that's to have a bunch of action and kind of find a way to connect with them. And Kafka is probably more easily connected to adults that read shonen than teenagers that read shonen, and it's kind of different. So I'm not really sure how it's going to work, but I do think that Reno is probably going to take the route that the main character usually takes. He's going to do all the regular training, power-up kind of stuff, and he's going to do it beside Kafka, while Kafka kind of does that more cerebral approach to his issues and kind of heals emotionally and mentally through the achievement of his dream. I'm really excited to see how it happens. I'm really looking forward to figuring out if I was right, or if the commenter that I was talking with was right. I'll put a picture of his comment here so you guys know who I'm talking about. But it's really cool, really interesting. I'm really excited. I really enjoyed this chapter. I hope you guys did too. If you liked the video, please like, subscribe, comment down below, and let me know what you thought. Also, share the video if you don't mind. It would really be helpful. And yeah, thank you guys very much for watching. See you guys next time.